Welcome to the AP Now podcast, the podcast that covers trends, insights, and emerging issues impacting every accounts payable function. Your host, Mary Schaefer, is the founder of AP Now, a B2B digital information and learning company focused on all issues related to AP. Stay tuned as Mary and her guests discuss the business intelligence you need to ensure a cost-effective, technologically efficient, fraud-resistant, regulatory-compliant accounts payable function. Without further ado, let's dive right in.
Hi, in this episode, we're going to discuss how you can boost productivity, cut your expenses by getting rid of those awful paper checks. We're going to give you 7 strategies that will help every organization achieve this goal. Welcome to episode 82 of the AP Now podcast. I'm Mary Schaefer from AP Now, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about 7 strategies everyone can use, every company, to get rid of what I consider those costly, unproductive, time-sucking paper checks. The reasons that I advocate this so strongly are many, and I've got a few of them up on that slide there so you can see. So as I go through the strategies, if you're thinking, oh, that's too much work, just look back up here and remember, paper checks are expensive. They make you less productive than you could be. You have more unclaimed property reporting than you might otherwise because uncashed checks are considered unclaimed property in most instances by the states. Your bank recs are easier when you don't have paper checks because you don't have outstanding items, and you don't have vendors calling up complaining that they didn't get a check when you sent it and you actually sent it in the mail. So let's take a look at some of our strategies. Strategy number 1 is what I call the simple ask. And by this, I mean simply ask vendors who you're paying with paper checks if you could pay them with ACH. ACH typically is the favored approach, but you might also want to pay them with a P card if it was a small enough invoice. But just ask them. Vendors who might have been reluctant in the past, after some of the issues that we've gone through with COVID, they had trouble getting the mail was slower, yada, 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 might be more receptive than they were in the past. Okay, that's not strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is simply to reduce the number of check runs. So you want to convert your folks to ACH payments. So instead of, let's say, for example, doing 1 payment run a week where you issued checks once a week and you did ACH once a week, now only do check runs once every 2 weeks and do ACH runs once a week. Whatever your timing is, you can figure this out. You don't need me. But the idea is to have more ACH runs than you have check runs, and then your vendors, who, let's face it, all they want to do is get paid and they want their money, might be lured over, if you will. They might see the light of ACH. So reduce the number of check runs. Okay, strategy number 3, which is something that we should be using basically in anything we want to do when we're trying to talk someone else into doing something that we want, both personal and business, by the way, is what I call the WIFTEK. What's in it for them? You know what's in it for you. I just showed you, reduced expenses, productivity, yada, yada, yada. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the list up there. So you know why you want to get reduced paper checks, but why should they want to get an ACH payment instead of a paper check? Maybe they'd get it faster. It would go direct to their bank account. They wouldn't have to worry about the mail. Whatever it is, you can come up with all the reasons. But when you talk, when you go and you make your formal approach to your vendors, make sure you couch it in terms of what's in it for them, okay? Not always what's in it for you, because but what's in it for them. And by the way, with this strategy and strategy number 1, which we call the simple ask, make sure that you do it strategically and in ways that you can actually implement. So for example, don't send the request to all your vendors if you only in reality have the ability to upload and upload vendors to this program of maybe, let's say you can only do 100 a week. I don't know what the number is. So you don't want to, send this to your 10,000 vendors and then, 3,000 come back and say, yes, I'd like to be paid electronically. And then there you are having unhappy vendors when your whole goal was to make them happy and get rid of paper checks. So do it strategically. Okay, now, before I share you the last few strategies, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. And if you are watching this on YouTube, click that bell to be alerted to new episodes. And with that, let's go up to our strategy number 4. Strategy number 4 is kind of simple. Just create a form, a sign-up form for your vendors to use that will have all the information that you need to enroll them in your electronic payment program instead of the paper check program, and include it with every paper check that you mail. You probably only get a few of them back, but this is another way to trickle in to get people to sign up for ACH, electronic payments, and go away from your paper checks. Now, you might want to look at your form. If you've been using the same form for a while and it's not getting many results, not a good ROI, so to speak, then you might want to look at your form and see if there's anything that you can do to change it. Maybe after you identified some of those benefits to your vendor for getting electronic payments, you might want to include it maybe in a little bullet point or call out or whatever in your form. Maybe you want to look at the wording. Maybe instead of just saying something like, here's our sign-up form, if you want to be paid electronically, you might use that first paragraph to point out the benefits to the vendor. So just look at it if you're not getting much of a return on it. Okay, our next strategy is something that you're a little bit, you may not want to do right off the bat, but it's something that you want to think about, and that is negotiate payment terms. Now, sometimes when people start an electronic payment program, they say, okay, we put the check in the mail and it takes our vendor, let's say 5 days between mail time and float time and processing time and bank clearing time. There's about 5 days there. So sometimes when companies start these programs, what they'll do is they'll go to their vendors and they'll say, we want to pay you electronically, and instead of paying you in 30 days, we'd like to pay you in 35 days because it's, we're losing 5 days float. And then the vendor may come back and you may negotiate a little bit and you end up at 32 days. Well, you can figure out what it costs you to issue a paper check. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably pretty expensive. It might be even as much as $20. And you might say, okay, maybe instead of giving them payment terms of 30 days, maybe we could do 31 days or 32 days. Let them get some of the benefit also. You don't have to achieve it all, because remember that what's in it for them. It has to be attractive to your vendor. Otherwise, they're not going to sign up, and you've done all this work for naught, and you're going to still be stuck with those expensive paper checks that take a lot of manpower and have a lot of mistakes in them sometimes. Not a lot, but a few. Okay, so that's strategy number 5. Let's go now to strategy number 6. And this is one of actually my favorites. I just like it as a matter of principle. And that revolves around your policy for rush payments. You can change your policy for rush payments to be one that says, okay, whenever we make a rush payment, we'll make it, but we're going to make it with ACH. We're not going to make it with check. And the benefit to you is twofold. Number one, you won't issue the paper check, so you've gotten rid of one paper check. But number two, when the vendor sees how easy it is to get the payment and that money goes right into their bank account, and they don't have a lot of processing, they get more efficient. Then they might say, you know what, that's good. I think that we'll use that on an ongoing basis. Maybe that's something we can do all the time instead of just occasionally. Okay, and now our last one, our strategy number 7. It's one that we don't think of that time, but probably not a bad thing to do. I want you to think about working with purchasing and seeing if, first of all, that they'll recommend electronic payments as part of their conversations when they're signing up a big contract with a new vendor, but also think about making it part of your terms and conditions. Now, if you make it part of your terms and conditions, there may be a few vendors that you're going to have to opt out for whatever reason. But if you can make it part of your standard terms and conditions that payment is made not by paper check, but by ACH, you'll get even more people signing up for the program, and you'll get rid of a few more paper checks. Okay, so if you've got other reasons that you think paper checks make sense, please drop a note to me in the comment field. I'd love to hear about it. And if you like this podcast, please remember to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, a card will pop up with a link to our episode 67, which is on new best practices, and we think that you might like it. So I hope you'll have a listen. Thanks for listening, and remember, we really appreciate those thumbs up and shares.